one right here. Oh, can you just
get out of the way? So we're out here in an unnamed location, trying to keep it secret, you know. This could be anywhere. It could be right by your house. And look who I found. Who are you?
Hello. My name's Nick Dorian. I'm a PhD student at Tufts, and I like doing insect photography.
How did you get into insect photography?
Well, I found myself increasingly interested in what the insects were around me, and I often found myself with a camera but without a net, and so I started taking photos, and I found that there's a really great community of entomologists online that are willing to help you identify your insect photos. We're out here early in the morning, which is great for using natural light to photograph insects, and that has the added benefit of cool temperatures, and so insects are slower and less able to, and I guess less scared when you approach them. They don't fly off as easily. We've seen flesh flies, we've seen soldier beetles, we've seen Hymenoptera and true bugs, so we have a wealth of insect diversity here to try to photograph. You don't have to spend a lot to take a good insect photo. In fact, you can take a lot of good insect photos with your phone. There are pretty inexpensive magnetic lenses that will attach to your phone so that you can take up-close macro shots. Those go for less than $100. If you really get into insect photography and you want to be able to blow them up and edit them really well, you can invest in an SLR camera, one that you can change the lenses on. And those setups can be quite expensive, but if you have a camera already, you can start taking photos of insects pretty inexpensively. The things that I would recommend are sort of a fixed lens, a fixed focal length lens, like 30 or 40 millimeters. And then you have two options to take up-close images. The first is a removable magnifying lens. The company Raynox makes a really good one, and it just clips on to the outside of the lens. The other tool that you can use to take up-close images of insects is what's known as an extension tube. And these are just pieces of plastic that reduce the focal length of your lens, and they effectively magnify your lens.
Just by moving it further away?
Just by moving it further away. And these go for under $20. I prefer the Raynox lens, particularly because I can clip it on and clip it off and take photos of the habitat as well as insects relatively quickly. But these extension tubes, you could leave them on for a day in the field and take great photos of insects all day long. So we're just going to approach here, careful of my shadow. This is a time where we're going to use natural light to take the photo, and I get close and I can snap a few shots. I make sure that the eyes and the head are in focus, and when I'm really close, I find it helpful to have a longer depth of field, so a higher number in terms of the aperture of the camera. And what this enables me to do is it enables me to get the eyes in focus, but also the wings and the back of the insect. If I have a shallower depth of field, it might have the effect of blurring the background, but only the eyes or only the antenna would be in focus.
Right.
And when you're dealing with such small distances, moving the camera back and forth or a slight jostle of the hands can make all the difference between an in-focus photo and one that's out of focus. Typically, if I want to get one in-focus photo, I try to take about 10 photos of the insect. Don't expect to get it in focus on the first shot. Make sure you sort of approach the insect and take lots of photos from different angles, and hopefully one of them will be in focus.
Oh, very cool. This is a wasp called Leucopsis.
It's a parasitic wasp that parasitizes the nests of bees, and it goes to bee nests that are located above the ground in tubes or rotting wood, and it locates the nest outside. Like, it locates where the offspring is outside of the nest, and it injects its ovipositor through the wood. This wasp pretends to look like a fly, a bee and a fly, because it doesn't have a pointed abdomen. Its ovipositor is laid across the top of its back.
No!
Yeah. When it gets ready to lay an egg, it snaps it down from the top of its back and into the bee nest. The most difficult part of insect photography is getting close enough to the insect without scaring it off. Oh, if you can approach the insect without it flying off, you have a pretty good chance that it's going to stick around long enough for you to snap a photo. This is the inevitable problem. Another technique that some insect photographers employ is actually catching the insect and chilling it down so that it doesn't move. If you catch it with a net, you can put it in a refrigerator for 20 minutes, and then you put it on a white piece of paper or a black piece of paper, just so there's a neutral background, and then you can take a photo of it. You only have about 2 minutes once you take it out of the fridge. You can spill it back onto a flower to pose a photo if you want, or on a leaf.
Just don't put it on the wrong flower.
No, but a lot of insect photos are contrived like that, and a lot of photographers use things like chilling or take advantage of cool temperatures early in the morning to make sure their photos are as sharp and as, you know, perfect as can be.
Oh, excellent.
Things you can't do with birds or mammals. So when you're inside taking photos through a microscope, you want to make sure that all the details on your insect are illuminated. So light from multiple sources is often useful. You can even hold your camera flashlight to the side to make sure the side of the insects are lit. You can position it near a well-lit window. When you're outside, you can use natural light or a flash that's been diffused.
Why is the natural light better in the morning than like other times?
So when the sun is low in the sky, the sunlight is less harsh, and so it has the effect of illuminating your subject, but without causing too many highlights.
Okay.
When the sun is really high in the sky, it creates lots of shadows. Sun low in the sky is effectively a flash coming from behind you.
A really big flash.
A really big flash.
That never turns off.
You can see my issue is the wasp is on that side of the patch and the sun is on that side. The alternative is if you go out in the middle of the day to photograph insects, many cameras have a built-in flash, and you can use your flash to sort of make sure the entire insect's illuminated so that you can get all the identifying features when you're building your collections. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is when you use a flash, the flash is a point source of light. And what that means is it often causes harsh reflectance from insects because they're quite reflective. So beetle elytra in particular often cause some spots to be very harsh light and other spots to be in shadow.
Because they're shiny.
Because they're shiny, exactly. And so I use this kind of very cheap, I made this out of the front of a notebook, one of those 5-star notebooks, and it's just a piece of translucent plastic. And what this enables me to do is I clip it over my camera and it diffuses the light. And so instead of it being a point source of light, it sort of presents a field of light on the insect. So if you use a flash, the most important thing to remember is that your subject has to be entirely in shadow. Otherwise, you'll end up with parts of the insect that are way over illuminated and way under illuminated.
Okay.
And so typically if you use a flash, you want to make sure you get your shadow over the insect.
Yeah, okay. So like over here.
Right, so here. I'm going to come up, and if you are able to approach with your shadow not disturbing the insect, then you're pretty good.
So you're casting a shadow with your hat?
I am.
Soldier beetle. Oh, and a sweat bee, one of the green things. I put one of these on iNaturalist and someone said I ID'd it wrong, which, fair enough, I was just guessing. When did you start using iNaturalist?
I started using iNaturalist a little less than a year ago. Once I started, I couldn't stop. It was really fun to go out and just walking on the street, see an insect on someone's front yard, take a photo of it, and by the next day know what it was. When I want to identify an insect using iNaturalist, I go to the phone app, not the iNaturalist app, and I take lots of different photos. Okay. And the benefit of this is I can upload multiple photos because often identification hinges on getting multiple angles. And so we have a wasp here, and I'm gonna approach it with one hand, and I can tap my screen to help the camera focus on it. And I'm going to try to approach it from a few different angles. If you don't want to worry about getting super close, take a 15-second video and extract 5 or 6 screenshots from it.
That's a great tip.
You can go take those photos, and we can go to the iNaturalist app. And on the home page, at the bottom, there is an Observe button. And I'm going to click this Observe button to upload the photos of that wasp on goldenrod that we took. So I can click the bottom right, and I can access all my past photos. And if we go back to the wasp, we can see that we have this nice photo of that large black and red wasp. So we can click next, and iNaturalist has a handy feature where it suggests an insect based off of an algorithm that it has. And if you have internet connection, it'll suggest that it's in the genus Polistes. I would agree.
Huh.
And then it suggests 2 or 3 insects at the species level. The first is the dark paper wasp. The next is in the genus Philanthus, which is a completely different genus than the one it thinks it is in. And so this is where you can go wrong using iNaturalist, is that its suggestions might be wildly inaccurate. I happen to know that this is a Polistes fuscatus, which is impressive that it's its first pick. But notice if I didn't know that and I thought it looked closer to a humped beewolf, I would have been off by a genus. So we're going to click Polistes fuscatus. It uploads it using the geolocation of my phone to Fresh Pond. Well, you don't know where we are.
And this could be anywhere.
And then we can share.
Awesome. And so then what happens?
It gets uploaded to the iNaturalist cloud, and then experts can come and verify whether your insect is what iNaturalist predicted it was or what you said it was.
And are they always right?
Experts are usually right. iNaturalist is not always right. And so generally it's best to be conservative with how specific you identify your insect. So if you're positive about the family but not positive about the genus, leave it at the family level.
Where can we find your beautiful photos, Nick? They're not online.
I've thought about doing, opening a little Etsy shop to sell postcards of insects. I think there needs to be more appreciation for the insect diversity around us. And I think it's a great place to start is with flower visiting insects, because you get the flower and you get the cute fuzzy bee or the hoverfly. And one thing that I've thought a lot about is including sort of natural history knowledge or sort of a sentence or two about what the insect does. Because all too often it's sort of out of context. You see a bee, but it's not identified properly, or we don't know what it does. And I think bringing that knowledge to the forefront of consumers or just on the backs of postcards will help gain the appreciation for insects in the public.
Oh, all right. So everybody look out for Nick's Etsy shop. That's
Great.
Fabulous. I would buy every postcard.
Too kind.
That fly's great.
Yeah, this is a
Oh, that fly.
This is a hoverfly and the genus Aristolus. It's actually from Europe. It's the European hoverfly, Aristolus arbustorum.
So we should kill it.
Nah, I don't see that many of them.
This black one?
Oh,
It's fat.
wow.
It's so fat.
That looks like a tachinid fly, parasitic fly.
Parasitic on what?
I don't know. You can get a photo of it on iNaturalist and figure it out.
Oh.
This is I believe this is a sand-loving wasp, genus Amosula, and wasps are very anxious. Abdomens always buzz up and down. They're always looking for prey. They don't want to be detected. And this is a particularly big wasp.
Big old angry wasp.
No.
Not angry. So it's the social wasps that are dangerous.
It is.
Because they have things to care about.
They have a colony that they care about.
There's some sort of metaphor in there, you know?
They're expendable. That's what they are, because they don't lay eggs. Oh, there's a cicada killer at your feet! Oh! That's charismatic megafauna I've ever seen.
That's a charismatic megafauna, yeah. How have the insects been lately, Nick? It's like a paparazzi question.
They've been doing okay. Late season, they're dependent on goldenrod.
Are you concerned about the so-called insect apocalypse?
I'm concerned if we don't reduce the use of pesticides and reduce light pollution and don't provide more habitat for insects.
Okay, very good advice, thank you.
Yeah. From a scientific standpoint, I don't think we have data in the United States to say whether or not...
Newspaper headline, Nick Dorian
I don't think that
rejects...
we shouldn't do anything. I just mean we need to be learning more about insect decline simultaneously to providing habitat to protect them.
I see.